First of all, it's important to say that things do change with time. So I would say that until the late 1980s, more or less the mid 1990s, in the mainstream academia in the West or in the global North, call it what you want, the only version of events about Palestine, if Palestine was at all discussed, was the Israeli one. And it was a very clear narrative by which the return of the Jews to Palestine was celebrated as both a miracle and a historical act of justice. And any resistance to that project was framed as terrorism and unjustified acts of violence. And this was the dominant version until the mid 1990s. But things have changed, at least in some centers of academic centers around the world, uh, partly because Israeli historians like myself, and I was not the only one, in the early 1990s began to publish books based on Israeli documentation that corroborated quite a few of the main claims made by the Palestinians over the years and challenged the basic Israeli narrative of what happened in Palestine since the arrival of Zionism in the 19th century. Secondly, a new generation of Palestinian scholars that were not there before, in a way, or were not heard, actually, they were there before, but they were not heard, began to be heard. And people like Edward Said, who published a very important book, The Question of Palestine, helped to change the attitude, at least in some academic centers, to the history of Palestine in general and that of 1948 in particular. So I think today, looking back, you can say that in 2024, there is a change in the way Palestine is being taught, researched, engaged with, but not everywhere. I think there's a huge difference, for instance, between countries such as France, Germany, and Italy, to give you three major countries, where it's still very difficult to find teachings and courses that provide also the Palestinian perspective. But if you go to Britain, the United States, to Scandinavia, definitely to countries in the global South, you can see that something has shifted in the way we talk about it. So the silence in the academia, I think, has been successfully challenged. It is the silence in the mainstream media that is very difficult to break. And because of that, I think it's also very difficult to challenge the narrative which politicians, especially in the West, believe in, or even if they don't believe in, subscribe to, because they think it serves their interests.